the wage gap when women work in the same field as a man, and a man gets paid more. What is that about? And just
the wage gap's been debunked
a million times.
Yeah, it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Did they mention the wage gap in the movie?
I think they did, but I don't really remember exactly. But
there's not a wage gap. There's an earnings gap. And the earnings, but like it's a very, you basically, the whole like trope of women make 75 cents to $1, it's the number's always changing. That doesn't account for like dozens of different factors.
Yeah.
It's basically comparing all the money that men make and all the money that women make in this country without factoring in people that don't work,
hours worked, maternity leave, overtime.
It's also
type of profession. It's across the board.
Also, if a woman takes time off of maternity leave, so say you decide to stay at home and raise your kid for 2-3 years, you are 2 or 3 years behind in your career.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is a factor you have to face.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as the Barbie movie, it does talk about like, because I did see it, and I actually do like the monologue that she says. I do think it has this idea of everyone is held to such a high expectation that's not achievable, and they're shamed when they can't even get near it. It's like if someone's overweight and they're working out in the gym, people make fun of that person, but that person's trying to better themselves in that.
Yeah.
And for women, I would say where we do struggle is we live in a society where we try to own our sexuality, we try to do this, and then we're criticized and crucified by public if we don't, or if we do. And then at the same time, it's like if we're this quiet, shy girl, it's something that people don't necessarily always think is the most appealing thing, or if you're the plain Jane is like an insult for people. But I would say it's both sides, because if you don't like a girl, and I've called some friends out for this, looks aren't everything, you should really get to know a person.
Exactly.
But why is it that when a woman makes an insult to another woman, the first thing she comments is her looks?
Because women are more aware of each other than anybody else, and that's what I just said.
Women are petty.
The term
part of the problem.
intersexual competition.
Yeah.
It's intersexual competition.
Actually, isn't the first insult a woman's going to say to another woman is she's a slut?
Yeah.
Yes.
Isn't that the
that's
go-to?
true.
Yeah.
That is true.
Yeah.
So,
Intrinsic awareness of body count.
Can I quickly add one more thing?
Sure.
I remembered in the monologue, it says like, if you're too skinny, well, like you're not good enough. And then if you like gain weight, you're not good enough. It's like you can never be good enough in this society.
It's just untrue. It's just untrue.
Like, no, okay, putting it simply, of course, like you can be good enough, but it's like in this world that we live in with all these standards, like physically sometimes you can't like live up to like the perfect standard.
You can't live up to the perfect standard. Well, that just comes down to acknowledging that you're not perfect.
Yeah, and there's hundreds of different standards. Everybody else has a different standard of like what they want somebody else to be, but to continue to compare yourself is just putting yourself further and further back of being eventually confident and like having that, like you don't need to compare yourself to other people. And if a woman's like struggle, I feel like to base struggles for women solely to appearance is kind of disrespectful. Like I feel
that's not
well,
what I'm
but
trying
that's
to do.
kind of all you've been mentioning is appearance and a wage gap that doesn't exist, when I would say like the biggest struggle women face is people saying that you can just become a woman. That's, in my opinion, the biggest struggle women face, is you can just put on some tits and makeup and be one of us.
Yes.
But I don't believe in that, and I think that's the biggest struggle we face.
I agree.
Okay, I mean, I respect that. But
While we're on the subject of appearances and attraction, can I say something real quick?
Really quick.
Okay, so I think I have a different take. So I think that men are a lot more visual and women are a lot more emotional. So yes, men will be looking for that physical attraction a lot more, and you said like women also, but I think like personally and a lot of my friends that I know, like we don't really, like if a guy has a good personality, that's what we find attractive. Looks are kind of like secondary, but you have to actually get to know that person in person. So like on a dating app, I just see like a balding guy and I'm like, oh, swipe left, whatever. But then if I were to like meet that same guy in person and he had a very charming personality, then I wouldn't mind that he was balding.
I mean, you can say that, and look, there's something to be said that men are a little more visually focused, women are a bit more
Men fall in
care
love with
a
their
little bit
eyes.
more personality, but I would
Looks
actually
matter.
argue
Looks
that
matters.
First,
looks are
yeah.
very important to both.
Yeah.
And again, like my
I mean, they
position would be is women are actually far pickier than men when it comes to physical appearance, because there's so many things that women care about that are absolutely out of the control of men: height, penis size, physical size. Like, for example, I think the men find a far wider range of body types
Yes.
appealing. Like, you've got thick, you've got skinny, you've got fit, whereas like a skinny guy, like I would say if you look at a woman who's skinny, well, skinny can mean different things to different people, but a woman who's has no gym training, who's not an athlete, she could, like an 18-year-old woman could just exist and have an attractive body. But like most women, an 18-year-old guy who isn't an athlete or doesn't have some degree of muscular development, like just a straight up skinny dude, that's not attractive to most women. So I think there's a far narrower range that men can fall into to be deemed physically attractive. I mean, I actually want to go around the table on this really quick. What percentage of men that you see on dating apps or that you see in real life do you find physically attractive? Like, what percentage would you say you find physically attractive?
Probably like 50, like maybe like 60% of them.
Wow. Okay. What about you? 60% of men you find physically attractive?
50, 60.
Okay.
yeah.
What about you?
Well, it's kind of like explain a little bit more.
Here's a different on a dating app, right? Because like if you're out in the streets, you're gonna see
Yeah.
people that are outside your age cohort. Let's say on dating apps, right? What percentage of men do you swipe yes on?
I don't have any dating
Okay. What about
apps.
you?
15%.
15%. What about in the street? What percentage of men do you find physically attractive?
I'd say like 35.
Okay. What about you?
That's a really hard question. I feel like mine would be like 15, 20
15, 20?
on
Okay.
a dating apps.
I'm
yeah.
low. It's maybe like 5%.
5%?
Yeah, you pick. Yeah, I can tell.
Same.
I would say very low, because when I look at somebody, I usually don't think most people are attractive, but for me it's very like, if I'm emotionally attracted to you, then I will become physically attracted to you as well.
Same.
Yeah.
Okay. Amy?
I'm not on any dating apps, but on the street, it's very low, maybe 10.
But like, you could have, like, in my case, like, you could have like perfect body, whatever, and I still won't find you attractive because I don't know your personality, just saying.
Also, I do gotta get going. It is a little bit
Yeah,
late
we're gonna
for
wrap
me.
up here in
Yeah,
just a
sorry.
sec. We'll wrap up here in just a sec.
Yeah,
So
I'm
you said
hungry.
10%?
Yeah, on the street, because I don't have dating apps.
So you find 10% men physically attractive?
It's very rare for me.
Lynn, what about you?
When I was on dating apps, I was probably swiping right on like 10%.
Okay,
Can I add something?
sure.
Putting it in the perspective of like in a classroom, like at my school, I feel like I would think like 50% of the boys in my classroom are attractive. So just that's where my reasoning
Okay,
from.
sure.
coming from.
So, I mean, 5%, you said even a really
But he could
muscular
be like
guy?
a 10 out of 10, and like, I still won't find him attractive. Because
All right,
like,
you
I don't
gotta
like,
talk
I don't
to
know,
your
I have
therapist
like a
about that
specific
one.
type, like, okay, maybe like, I don't know, 2% if like somebody like really catches my eye, but like when
Okay.
girls in middle school like drooling over the guys in magazines, I was just like, I don't know, I don't see it. That's just
I'm
me
like
personally.
that too. Like if you're too
Thank
attractive,
you.
I
Yeah.
will not go near
I think
you.
a lot of girls though.
Yeah, like if you're
I like
too
pretty
hot, like
boys.
it makes you less hot.
If you're really hot, it makes you less hot?
Like conventionally attractive men, like I don't find them attractive.
Okay, fair enough. Was there anything else with the Barbie movie? Was there patriarchy, was it? I don't remember though.
I think everyone should watch the monologue, and yeah, that's all
Okay.
I'll say.